I am Leke Rezniqi, and I am here with my grandfather Mustafa Rezniqi, co-chair of the Kosovo-Israel Friendship Association, to record a live history interview. This is part of a project that we're doing in conjunction with the Albanian American Foundation, directed by Shirley Cloyes DioGuardi, to reveal the role that Kosovo Albanians played in saving Jews during the Holocaust. Today is 18th November of 2008, and we are here at my grandfather's place in Pristina. Shirley has provided a list of questions. She and I will edit your answers for publication. So, grandfather, do I have your permission to record this interview? Absolutely, yes. Did your parents have friendships with the Jewish families? Grandfather, please tell us the names of the Jews that your parents and your family had relationships, and with whom and with what you know about their lives. Yes, indeed, my family had a very good working relationship with the Jewish families. This is a partial list of the Jews that lived in Deccan in our family. These are the names of the people. The Conforti family, the Cohen family, or the Levi family, the Natan family, and the Mizrahi family, and the Abravanel family. And they were all kind of family related, and they saw our house as most secure. As you know, these Jews being relatives to one another, and they would call other relatives that they could come to Deccan. And Deccan and our house was a transit point for these Jews that wanted to actually go into Albania. As you know, most of these Jews wanted to go into Albania because they knew they were safer there. We never had any major incidents. But I remember a couple of cases where the military would come in and my father would put all the Jews through the garden into the village of Rezniqi, where they would spend a couple of nights before they'd come back to our house also and this would happen when, you know, the Nazis would come in and kill other people, including Jews, in Deccan and the neighborhood. But so when we saw there was danger, we always asked them to go to Rezniqi at our cousins for a couple of nights until the situation would calm down again, except for staying with our cousins in Rezniqi. Was your family aware of anti-Semitism in the rest of Europe? Partially so, I would say. My father could have known something about it. I'm sure he did actually know about it. He would read the press every day. I was young at that time. I didn't know what it meant. And my mother was not the kind of person who knew anything about it, that would tell me anything about it. But my father was very well aware of it, and that's why I guess he offered the Jewish friends a guest house that he built in our own yard, that he paid by himself, even though the Jews wanted to pay for it. But my father insisted he'll build the new house, and until the new house was built, he took in these Jews into our own family house, and groups of Jews showed up once the house was built, that my father protected and fed and made sure had a secure and safe residence during this time. And these groups of Jews would stay there a couple of days or so, and my father would then arrange their transportation into Albania. In order to travel into Albania, you had to be a resident of Deccan, for instance. My father had good working relationships with Arif Alichkay, a secretary in the municipality of Deccan. And since a lot of these Jews spoke some Serbian, we would change them with, we would give them Muslim, Bosnian names, and then the municipality would issue him Bosnian ID cards, and they would then cross the border into Albania as Bosnians. And their major destination was Tirana. Some of the Jews that lived with us ended up in Argentina, Italy, and all of them went through Tirana. Could you please tell us what you know about the lives of individual Jews that your family saved, including the story of the Jewish doctor from Shkup, Haim Abravanel, who saved your life? Since 1939, my father cooperated with Jewish business people and tradesmen. In 1940, some 3 families, Jewish families, offered my father some money so that he could build a guest house for them right by our own house when the war was starting around Yugoslavia. And so we were also expecting the war to come here as well. So some 4 families came to our house to live with us during the war for several months. The case of Dr. Haim Abravanel is more specific than the other Jewish families that lived with us in Dechan. My father offered to these people to be a partner. Conforti, Natani, Koheni. These are the Jewish businessmen that my father was a partner with in businesses. How it happened that Dr. Abravanel saved my life relates to the fact that in 1940, Dr. Abravanel was recruited as a medic, as a doctor in the army. With the military unit in Jakova. Gvozdeni Puk was the name of that military unit in Jakova. The name in English means the iron unit. So the idea was for this unit to be going to Croatia. However, one of these Jews that was in Dechan, Solomon Comfort, was outside of my father's store, and he saw the bus and Dr. Abravanel in the bus passing by. So at that time, just about a month ago, my aunt and my uncle and my other aunt had died out of tifo. So me, being a kid, was very sad that these people died. So I also was infected with the typhus virus. And when Solomon saw Dr. Abravanel, seeing him in the bus going to Jakova, he calls him up and calls my father up and tells my father that Dr. Abravanel went to Jakova. So he tells my father, let's go find him. He is a doctor specializing in infectious diseases, so he could help your son. So my father goes with him to see Dr. Abravanel at the bus station in Jakova. They meet him there, and Solomon requests that Dr. Abravanel comes to Dechan to visit me. So he says, at the moment, no, I cannot. I have to report to the military unit that day, but I can come in about 2 days. Or otherwise you have to bring the child here so I can treat him here, he said. So that's what we did. So Dr. Abravanel suspected the virus was typhus. So even though he was not sure, he came together with a soldier. He got some blood sample from me and requested that my blood tests are run in Shkup. Who could go to do the tests for me? So my uncle Uncle Ismet Stavilici from Jakova went to Shkup to send my blood sample for analysis there at the General Hospital in Shkup. That day, the hospital was bombed by the Nazis, so he couldn't get any results. So he came back from Shkup. So then from Kaçanik, Elazhan, he comes to Ferizay with another horse carriage, and then finally takes a bus to Jakova, but having no results with him. However, Dr. Abravanel, before my uncle actually came back from Shkup, he took medical measures he thought were necessary as to how I should get better soon. And in the meantime, that unit that Dr. Abravanel belonged to was transferred to another place from Jakova. So whatever the politicians had made those decisions, I don't know, but the unit had to go to some place in Vojvodina or Serbia. So passing by Dechan again, they saw the doctor in that with that unit, and they were going through Dechan on the way to Peja to get on a train to go to Vojvodina. So then my father and his friends offered the doctor to leave the unit and come to our house. He was afraid to do so, and then again the two Jews living with our family go with my father to ask the commander, and then my father goes to ask the unit commander to ask to release the doctor. Well, the commander says no, and so my father with his friends make it happen. So that they get the doctor, they pretty much kidnap the doctor from the unit, take him into our house, they give him Albanian traditional clothes so that he could not be noticed that he was a foreigner. And so my father takes him to our cousins in Rezniqi, in the village of Rezniqi, till the unit was gone. And when the unit was gone, then my father brought back the doctor into our house, where he lived for at least about 2 months. The doctor lived. We had a house built in our yard for the Jewish families, but that house was already packed with people, so that my father gave him a room in our own house, in the house where we lived, and the window from his room looked overlooked the street outside our house. Dr. Abravanel and the other Jews in our family lived in Dechan for at least 4 months. The doctor could not stay doing nothing. The people found out soon that he was a doctor, so a lot of the villagers would come to our house to see the doctor. Some wanted to pay him, but he never wanted to take a dime out of anyone. He said, I'm a guest here at Arslan Rezniqi's house, and I do not need to get paid for my services. I am already being fed and well hosted by Arslan Rezniqi. So for the time that he lived in our house, he never took money from anyone, but at the same time, he suggested he helped a lot of people with diagnosis and treatment of the typhus virus and other medical problems that the villagers had. Were there other families that saved Jews in Kosovo? Yes, there were many other Albanian families that saved Jews. So Jews felt very secure coming into Albanian households. Albanians were well known for their besa, for their trust. So everyone that would come into an Albanian household, they'd ask for the besa. And so even the Jews, when they come in, they'd ask for the besa. And so when the Albanians said yes, they were secure. They felt safe and secure, and the Albanian families, because they had gotten the besa. The Albanians had the besa. The besa was the trust. So whoever gave the besa to these Jews or other guests in the family, they would sacrifice the entire family. But they would not let anything bad happening to their guest. My father took good care of these people. He always did all he could. And I guess, he was able to do what he did because of his business relationships with the Jews and his successful businesses. He had a good vision, and he was a person that wanted to help others. And all those who went through my father's caring and our house, they all were safe and sound in the end.